This is Why Am I a Mets Fan, a podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston. We're joining you after a loss. Mets dropped the second game to the Brewers 5-3. How are we feeling?
They had it. They had that game. I mean, we'll get into it, but now they set up win or go home tomorrow. Will there be another day of Mets baseball past tomorrow? We don't know.
They had it, and that's what hurts. Before we even get into the summary, Ashley has an interesting stat here. There have only been 12 wildcard series since the league switched into its current format in 2022. Only 2 of them have gone to a winner-take-all Game 3, and the Mets have been involved in both. I feel like, how is that possible? But also, it makes complete sense.
Mets gonna Met.
That's all there is to say about it. So we are going to a Game 3, but yeah, this one was a heartbreaker. Top of the first, Mets strike first. Nimmo singles in Iglesias. They're up 1-0. Bottom of the first, they tie it at 1. Top of the second inning, Alvarez singles into Marte, Lindor sac fly, and it's 3-1 Mets. How are you feeling at that point? Did you watch this game in the sports office tonight?
Yeah, I watched it. When it was 3-1 Mets, you kind of had the feeling the whole time that they needed more runs. They left a lot of runners on base tonight. They were 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position, left 9 players on base the whole time. I mean, if you're a Mets fan, I know if you were going through watching it, runners in scoring position after runners in scoring position, I knew it was going to come back to bite them. I just did.
The runners in scoring position was tough tonight, 2 for 11, and that was clearly a problem. I will say that when I was watching this game, that was one thing that stuck out to me, is there were a couple of those middle innings there. I want to say, and I'll look to see, but it was either like the 5th or the 6th inning where the bases were loaded, and they weren't able to get anyone in. And I really thought, at that time, I was like, listen, this is going to come back to bite them.
Yeah.
Like, there were certain times where they just had to do more than they did. And to your point, it felt like they needed more runs. Anyway, bottom of the 5th, right, it's 3-2. And really, it was the bottom of this 8th inning that I think many of us are going to remember. Phil Maton imploding. There's a lot to discuss here. A lot to discuss.
Yeah.
Top of the 8th, actually.
So Mendoza goes to his bullpen. He takes out Minaya after 5 innings pitched, and I have it here somewhere. I believe it was 86 pitches. Now, did we need to take out Minaya at that point? I'm not sure. I mean, the fact that he gave up that second run in the bottom of the 5th, maybe that's why he came out after that inning. Did Sean Manaya's night need to be done after 86 pitches? I don't know. I was nervous at that point about the bullpen coming in because we've seen how that's gone this year. Reed Garrett comes in for the 6th, has a perfect 6th inning. Ryan Stanek comes in for the 7th, has a perfect 7th inning. Then you bring in Phil Maton for the 8th. This podcast has been a big Phil Maton supporter. He's been great for them down the stretch. He is the guy to go to there in the 8th. The unfortunate truth is he just didn't have it tonight. His breaking stuff wasn't breaking after this Chourio home run, ties the game. Then Mendoza continues to leave him in. Willy Adames singles, and then Garrett Mitchell puts the icing on the cake and hits a 2-run home run. It's 5-3 Brewers. The Mets go down in order in the bottom of the 9th, and that's the ball game. The tough truth of it,
and that's the ball game.
The tough truth is just that, especially when you see that Phil Maton doesn't have it tonight after the first home run, the game's tied, get him out of there. I understand that Adam Ottavino is your only option warming up. Probably could have put Jose Butto in there as well. But we don't have the time in these playoff games. Mendoza has been managing with a large sense of urgency. To me, I didn't like what preceded that event. I think Ryan Stanek had a great 7th inning. Why not throw him back out there for a little bit of the 8th? Now, Mendoza said that he liked the matchup of Maton with Chourio. Evidently, that didn't work because Chourio hit it over the wall.
Yeah, no, that didn't work at all. I will agree. I think that when I was watching Stanek, I thought he has more fight in him right now. Like, that's someone who you could have kept in. But I knew something was awry when they showed the bullpen, and the only person who you saw warming up in there was Ottavino, and Diaz was nowhere to be found. In a way, I get it, that high leverage situation, you're only wanting Diaz for 3 outs, okay. But honestly, and obviously easy now when Maton kind of blew it to look at the other options, but if Ottavino was my only other choice, I wouldn't have felt better with that. I really wouldn't have. And I will even say that now that it went the way it did. Like, Maton has been good. He has a nice resume up to this point that he's stacked. Better than Ottavino. I wouldn't have felt good with that either.
Yeah, down the stretch, Maton's been fantastic. He had a sub-1 postseason ERA coming into this game. He was the guy in that spot. I just think, right, hindsight's 2020. You could have left Stanek in a little longer. You could have left Minaya in a little longer. It is what it is. It sucks. I mean, he said after the game that Diaz was only available for 3 outs. Now, in my mind, listen, I'm not a professional baseball player. Edwin Diaz available for 3 outs. He threw 66 pitches over 2 days on Sunday and Monday. Like, it's Wednesday night. Like, Edwin, get out there. I don't know what to tell you. The season's on the line. Like, why is Edwin Diaz only available for 3 outs?
That's kind of what I was thinking. Now, mind you, though, the game is tied. How many outs does he have in him? I understand. I have to say, like, just from a manager standpoint, tough decisions need to be made there either way. And I do feel like we even mentioned last night, most of the time, Mendoza makes the right decision. I don't know if I would even say he made the wrong decision tonight. I would say Maton tried his best and it didn't work.
Yeah, again, like I've been saying, Maton is your guy there, so I'm not going to say it's a wrong decision with managing the pitching. It is what it is. Like I said, hindsight 2020, it didn't go our way. We touched on it before. The other thing is just the bats. Like, they needed more hits with runners in scoring position tonight. You just felt the whole time like those 3 runs weren't going to be enough. And I have to take a moment on Pete Alonso just for the sake of my mental well-being.
Yeah, I think that you need to do it.
Pete Alonso needs to be dropped in the lineup. Pete Alonso has 5 hits since September 19th, which was 2 weeks ago. He has been non-existent. He's been doing nothing, and they've been able to get it done without him. And look, defensively, I will tell you, Pete Alonso's actually been fantastic at first base, picking some throws, saving Lindor a bunch. He's been really great at first. Offensively with the bat, it just hasn't been there. I mean, this is supposed to be your guy, and he's not the guy. He tripped over his own bat tonight. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
That really upset you.
It did.
No, I understand it because, again, a part of it is the bats. But the other part is, like what you said about runners in scoring position, that feels like the one other key tonight where normally there's some guys who are really stepping up and they just weren't there. It was the 6th inning. I'm looking now, and the bases were loaded. Right. Yep. They couldn't get any runners in.
Iglesias struck out.
And it's funny because it's all coming back to me now. I feel like I hallucinated through that entire experience. When they decided to walk Lindor, which that whole situation was really kind of odd too.
That was odd.
But once they decided to do that, in my mind, I was thinking, I see Iglesias coming up. I'm like, wait, that's a great player to have up there. Right. He's been great in those situations and in those spots the whole season. Not to mention, as a player, I would feel really pissed off in a situation like that. Like, I get it, why they would walk Lindor, but if it were me and I'm up there, I'm feeling even more motivated to be like, you want to face me?
Oh.
It was the perfect opportunity to prove them wrong. Couldn't do it.
If the guy in front of me gets intentionally walked to get to me, I'm pissed off, Like, you have to be.
Yeah, I'd be mad, know?
Yeah.
So, end of the day, not able to pull that out. One other thing I want to mention, just kind of an aside, but I just hate it. That win probability graphic on ESPN is garbage. It's awful. There's a 100% chance that I hate that graphic. It should never be there again. I don't like it at all because honestly, I think first of all, sometimes their odds are not fair. I want to know who is predicting some of that stuff because there was a point in this ball game that it was 3-3 and the Mets had like a 20% chance of winning or 28% chance. I'm like, that doesn't really seem fair.
Yeah, like what is that data based on?
Come on now.
Someone explain.
What are we doing? But I guess ultimately those odds tonight proved to be right. In Game 3, what are you looking to see that you didn't see tonight?
Look, Jose Quintana's pitch in the Game 3. I don't know how I feel about that right now, especially against a Brewers lineup kind of dominated by righties. Also, Jose Quintana faced the Brewers about a week ago, last Saturday. He went 4 1/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts. The 9 strikeouts, it was overall a good outing. It wasn't a great outing. He also really got that pitch count up high early. And I think if you're the Brewers, that's what you try to do again tomorrow. You probably try to force him from the game as soon as you can. Now, the positive is that David Peterson is available for long relief. The Mets said today that he did not throw his regularly scheduled bullpen session that he normally does in between starts in the instance of a relief opportunity either tonight or, unfortunately, tomorrow. So David Peterson's available. Jose Buto should be available. You got guys waiting in the wings if Quintana can only go 4 or 5 innings. I don't love that Jose Quintana's pitching your winner take all game. It is what it is. I know you get to these points in the playoffs, and he's been good in the playoffs. His postseason ERA is very good.
I'm comfortable with it. I'm going to push back on that. I don't know. I feel like, especially even yesterday, we were talking about it. He has been someone who has done well in playoff scenarios before. He's, but without a doubt, one of the top guys that they have. I like him in this spot, and honestly, especially now that you brought up the Peterson thing, I feel like that 1-2 punch, I am comfortable with it. I'm not going to feel anxious-free tomorrow.
I am comforted by the fact that Peterson and Budo are available. That's all I'll say.
But I'm comforted by that. And surely Diaz.
And surely Edwin Diaz
is
should
be
available
warming up
for all the outs, not just the 3 outs.
For any outs that are needed at any time.
Yes. Tomorrow, I better not see JD Martinez in the lineup or Jesse Winker, or I'm going to have a conniption. And second of all,
and we just can't have that on a Thursday. Please.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is it, though. For as much as I just said about feeling the nerves, they let one get away tonight. Like, that was their game to win, and they lost it. That's unfortunate. On the other side of that coin, this Mets team has bounced back every single time this year after they have that heartbreaking, rips your heart out loss. They got to do it one more time, or the season's over.
Also, how many come from behind wins, and how many great team wins? I have to say, compared to a situation like 2022, we have this entire season and still do feel differently about this team. I really will say right now, just to have it on the record, no matter how tomorrow goes, in my mind right now, I'm going to sleep tonight not thinking that the season is over tomorrow. I really believe that in my heart of hearts. Do you?
I do too. I'm probably a little more nervous than you, but I do think if I had to put money on it tonight, this Mets team comes out and wins a game tomorrow. I hope I don't regret this tomorrow night in this same exact chair.
Wait, she always says this. You're like, I do believe, but
but if I don't,
she gets anxious. No, honestly, I understand it, but I have to say, I feel like all of these things that I was seeing today, I'm at the point where I believe that this team is destined for greatness.
And they thrive under pressure, and tomorrow's going to be the pressure one more time. So show us what you're made of one more time, because you haven't done it enough yet this year.
Final thoughts, and then we'll get out of here. Anything else you want to add, knowing that tomorrow is a very big day?
I mean, win or go home. They bumped up the game to 7 o'clock, so it's a little earlier than we thought it was going to be. ESPN originally had it slotted as 8:30, so we'll be here either way, no matter if tomorrow again, we don't know if we're hosting a funeral or a party, and I sincerely hope it's not a funeral.
If we both come dressed in black,
you know it's a funeral.
Bad things happen.
I don't think this team deserves for it to be a funeral. This team deserves more. This team deserves Philadelphia, and I hope they get to see it.
This team earned it. But at the end of the day, it is up to them. They need to. They've earned the success up to this point. But if they want to move on, I guess I'll say it this way: the future is in their hands now. So we'll see what they can prove.
Might be yet to come.
It just might be. Ashley knows that's my catchphrase. Good time to just remind you guys, you can find us anywhere on YouTube, social media. The handle is all the same at WhyMetsPod. And I do just want to say, if you are new here, if you are just joining us, thank you so much and welcome. We saw a lot of new subscribers and new faces. Again, we're two broadcasters. We're based in Syracuse, New York, and we're a couple of Mets fans who really wanted to chat about the Mets and also incorporate the Syracuse Mets when we can. But now it is all go on the New York Mets, and we hope to see you back here in bright colors tomorrow night. We'll let you know.
Just a couple of Mets fans with a dream.